fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice.
Greetings world. We are on DK. As we continue our All in the Family series, putting our document the bloodlines into video for easy consumption, we will look first at the Somaglia family. This family did a very good job hiding their name. Of course, we know from all of the background we have learned about these families that they are in the papacy and high government positions. So we know where to look. These are the families who decide who is Pope. These are the families who dictate what the Pope does. The Pope is the messenger from the upper elite families we speak of here in the lower elite families known as the banking families. Like every other upper elite family, they are cardinals, duchesses, dukes, princes and priests. We had a difficult time finding the running lineages we have been able to produce thus far, as it seems this family does not use the name Somaglia often, rather they attach it after the names they choose. However, we can find many palaces and towers and pieces of art of them, as well as lands named after them. This ancient Veronese family is known in Verona by the name of Somaglia sto Pizzola. We find our first member of this elusive family in 1744, Giulio Maria della Somaglia. He was sent from his home in Piacenza to Rome when he was 12 to join the priesthood, which he did in 1787. He became domestic prelate of his cousin Pope Clement XIV and under another relative, Pope Pius VI. He was secretary to numerous congregations. He was made cardinal, Secretary of State and Secretary of the Inquisition. During the Napoleonic invasions, the elite lost faith in him and he was prematurely pronounced dead, similar to Cardinal Diego de Espinosa on 2nd of April 1830. So let us follow it back now. Corona Cavazzi Somaglia married Camillo Borromeo and had one child, Gianbattista Borromeo, before she died in 1558. Later on we see Count Gianluca Cavazzi della Somaglia, born in 1762. In 1814 he was elected president of the City Council of Milan. Gian was son of Count Antonio Cavazzi della Somaglia and Countess Donna Antonia. Count Antonio Cavazzi of Somaglia comes from a nice, strong and long line of counts and princes, not to mention Knights of Malta and Jesuits. His brother, Count Don Ludovico, became a Knight of Malta in 1735. He was also Imperial Chamberlain, Austrian Captain, Imperial Ambassador in Sweden and in London, Imperial General Major, Imperial Personal Councillor, Imperial Marshal Lieutenant Plenipotentiary Minister and Vice Governor of Belgium. Their other brother was Don Alberico. Don Alberico became the second Prince of Holy Empire and Belgioioso after his father. He was Count of Holy Empire, Count and Lord of Belgioioso, Marks of Grumello, Lord of San Colombano Alhambro, Lardera, Sicanola, Consignor del Vicariato de Belgioioso, and all the rest of it by 1779. He was the imperial personal councillor and changed his name to Barbiano de Belgioioso d'Este after marrying Anna Ricciarda d'Este, the Princess of Modena and Reggio, in 1757. They had 5 children, all counts and princesses, leading to great-great-great-granddaughter Countess Donna Beatrice, who died in 1956. She was married to Emanuele Greppi, Count of Bussero and Cornigliano. Notice how the elite easily take on the female family name, while most of the world has been indoctrinated for the woman to receive the man's name. To the elite it is just a rose by another name. The women are important to the bloodline for they carry the proper gene. The male is simply a good tool for public eyes and reproduction. The female is the key. It all links into why they have female deities as the focus. Male and female. Black and white. They work with sides. Divisions. Opposites. They are switched around as needed, only to keep you fooled. The deepest bloodline runs deep in this lineage and as it is quite popular, can easily be traced to current day. If we go back, we can find Count Carlo of the Somaglia bloodline in 1583 who was also Lord of Belgioioso, Count of the so-called Holy Empire, Marks of Grumello, Lord of San Columbano Alhambro, Lardera, Cafenza, Sicanola, Consignor of Vicariato and Belgioioso, Lord of Graignana, Consignor of Albazzano, Marzano, Vigildo, Verona and Spirago, oh and of course, Knight of Malta. We do not repeat these titles after everyone we list because everyone in these families is a Knight of Malta, a Knight Templar, in an order or Freemasonry or Scottish Rite Masonry, Jesuits, Luciferians. They are the creators of these cults and are ever present in them, during his impossible task of working endlessly to get all of these massive titles which are impossible to reach by any human. This elite also found time to marry Francesca Millumbra and have 4 children. What a guy. It is comical how much the elite lavish titles and positions on themselves, so meaningless and empty. How they measure a person's worth. Count Carlo had 15 brothers and sisters total, which naturally included a few illegitimate ones. One brother, Count Giovanni Giacomo, was a well-known Jesuit and a professor at the University of Salamanca. One of his sisters, Constanza, became a nun called Francesca Maria in the monastery of Santa Barbara in Milano. Many of the women in this family are nuns, which proves the obvious point that this family is not a breeding line. His son Giovanni got some good blood as we see from his titles and offspring. He became Count and Lord of Belgioioso, Count of the Holy Empire, Marks of Grumello, Lord of San Columbano Alhambro, Lardera, Cafenza, Sicanola, Consignor of Vicariato and Belgioioso, Lord of Graignana, Consignor of Albazzano, Marzano, Vigildo, Verona and Spirago, just like his father. These things are generational. When one dies, another is already in his place. We must be vigilant. Carlo was also the Spanish general and Knight of San Diego and vice-governor of San Omer until 1675. He married Beatrice Pallavicino, daughter of Marx Museo Pallavicino, and later married Isabella Wilgenstein, daughter of a Flemish nobleman. He had 6 children total, including Don Alberto's father, Antonio Barbiano de Belgioso, who married Barbara Countess d'Atta, all titles included. If we follow the path of what we know about this family, its titles alone lead us through a maze of names used by them. Each person in this family's history, as far as we have found, has used a different last name. It seems this family is strictly behind the scenes. Even in the elite of the elite, there are higher levels of power. Keep in mind, these are the ones in the shadows. They hide in plain sight. The popes and nobles and cardinals who come from so-called humble backgrounds and give up their lives for the poor. They come from these backgrounds, born into ancient bloodlines and ritualistic lifestyles. These people who rule our world and pop up out of nowhere are from somewhere. That somewhere is here. These bloodlines. Always remember, all roads led to Rome. That is one of the keys. We will continue now with the 5th upper elite Jesuit bloodline. The Breakespear family. Breakespear was a term used for a victor in a tournament or battle. This term grew from ancient Rome. One Roman centurion, Longinus, had the duty of using his lance, nicknamed the Spear of Destiny, to pierce the sides of those who were crucified. In those days, To be sure, they were dead before they were taken down. He was the one who pierced the heretic, Jesus. Like the Holy Grail, a cup used to serve the crucified, a mixture of water and vinegar before the cross was raised upright. The crown of thorns, the purple robe, and a reed wand, long in his lands, has also been lost. As far as the public are ever told, the elite cannot have proof which contradicts their lies and deceptions. They keep much from you, as we should know by now. Lost simply means locked in the dungeons of the Vatican. Long in his lance, called the Spear of Destiny, is said to have been found, put on display in Vienna. Adolf Hitler saw it as a child and claimed it when he was a ruler. Heinrich Himmler used it as the blueprint for brain implants he created to make super soldiers. Though Russia has just now officially announced they have super soldiers, this has been going on for generations, and as everything is nothing new. Himmler's Spear of Destiny chip, which was in the shape of a triangle, just like Himmler's castle, was implanted in the pineal gland and used to control its victims. Himmler was assigned the mission to find the Holy Grail as well, but failed. Himmler's castle has 3 towers, one on each corner. The north and largest tower was made to look like the human pineal gland. He held frequent satanic rituals there, which included 13 SS knights. The north tower was built over a crypt, which is easily accessible from the tower, and during the rituals they would burn a sacred fire there. The Spear of Destiny is also called the third eye, just like the pineal gland. One ancient ritual which has been practiced since the Sumerian times is called the breaking of spears. Names always have deeper meaning. In the occult mind, signs and symbols rule the world. This was the idea behind the ghost named Shakespeare. The pun used as the person of Shakespeare was illiterate and could not even write the name, though he tried 3 times to make Shakespeare's will. As for his portrait, it is a painting which was, in that day, a photoshopped copy of the Queen. Sir Francis Bacon, also called William Tudor, physically wrote the plays, as they were dictated to him by the elite. A quote from the play Richard III by Shakespeare says this, quote, "Hearkens after prophecies and dreams, and from the crossroad plucks the letter G," end quote, pointing out the cult by mentioning the Freemason symbol. They cannot keep themselves from bragging, and they have every right to. We have all been too ignorant to notice what they do. The alphabet, like the calendar, is a form of communication, a code. We have accepted their twisted calendar while they still use the original Gregorian. We think the alphabet is letters when those letters represent various numerical patterns which the elite use still today. The code, which used to be well known, until we were all deceived, is called the Incision Code. They never stopped their course or methods. They just stopped us from accessing it. That is how deception works. The elite have been careful because even though they were not in the spotlight, they have been quickly placed there and expelled by the people in the past. The people were shown and woken up to realize who the elite were and knew they had to act. This is what we hope to see happen again today. We are the watchers of the elite. We never blink or sleep, for we are awake. John Milton wrote the following, pointing out the Jesuits' lies and deceit by using Shakespeare among other things, to twist people's minds to the point that what they used to fight against their evil and corruption, they would desire to be themselves. Deception. The elite in those days used propaganda they wrote and gave to Shakespeare and puppets like him. Destroyed lives for lies. Media. News is meaningless when the end goal is profit. We see this all too evident today. Quote, "What need my Shakespeare for his honored bones? The labor of an age in piled stones, or that his hallowed relics should be hid under a star-pointing pyramid? Dear son of memory, great heir of fame, what need thou such dull witness of thy name? Thou in our wonder and astonishment, hast built thyself a lasting monument, for while to the shame of slow on devouring, our easy numbers flow, and that each part hath from the leaves of thy unvalued book those Delphic lines with deep impression took. Then thou our fancy of herself bereaving, dost make us marvel with too much conceiving, and so sepulchred in such pomp does lie that kings for such a tomb would wish to die." End quote. Breakespear, when changed back to its original Latin, is Lanceroto. Lanceolata translates to Lancelot. Lancelot. We hope you see the pattern of the lance in this family's history. As you all recognize, Lancelot was the first knight to King Arthur as well as the one who murdered him. Surely by now we do not have to spell out why it really happened and what Lancelot was. Remember, there are no coincidences when it comes to these families. Every detail of every outcome of every event is always planned and has deep meaning. When you think you have something figured out, look deeper. Ask the next question. Find the truth. It is hidden from you. You have to pull down your own barriers and programming. The Breakespear family crest is a red shield with two gold lions with blue, pointed claws and tongues. The blue tongue is seen in many religions. The blue-tongued lizard was an old man according to Australian Aboriginal mythology. Sound familiar? He is a trickster and a powerful sorcerer, like Loki from the legend of Thor, what the elite call magi, Zoroastrian, Jesuit. We see the blue color used in other deities as well. As we have covered before, blue is the third highest color of the upper elite, gold, white, and blue. Duke William, better known as William the Conqueror, was the illegitimate child of Robert VI, Duke of Normandy. In 1028, when William was around 7, his father died while on a pilgrimage in Nicaea, located just south of Turkey. William became a young duke and ruled under the guide of his guardians. His guardians were Alan III, Count of Brittany, Gilbert, also called Crispin, Count of Brionne, and Osborne Stewart, called de Piffert, of Normandy, and Turchill, who were Robert's cousins, and lastly, Walter Williams, an uncle from his mother's side. Though he could never be named as an official guardian or teacher, he saved William from assassins on several occasions. William's story is well known and can be found easily if you wish to know more about him. So we will move on. In 964, Robert, William's great-uncle, was born to Richard I, also called the Fearless, Duke of Normandy, and Gunnar, the Duchess of Normandy. Robert d'Evreux became Archbishop of Rouen. Count Richard the Fearless, also called Richard Fitzwilliam, Count of Rouen, was the son of William I and was called Longsword. William was the son of the Viking Rollo. Around 860, the great Viking king, Gandrulf Rollo Ragnvald's son, was born in Norway. After being banished by the king of Norway, he ran with his brothers and a band of followers to Denmark. The king of Denmark took no pity on them, slaughtering his 2 brothers and many of the others, and Rollo fled the country to England. Rollo pillaged and plundered his way to Scotland and then France and became the first Duke of Normandy. His name means the walker, and it is written that he was so big no horse could carry him, another giant. His great-grandfather was Eystein Ivar's son, the Noisy, Earl of Norway, descended from Sveti Hater's son, who is called the Sea King, and was King of Norway in 650. In 320, a few generations deeper, Thorsteir's son, King in Kvinland, was known as the Great Sacrificer because he performed ritualistic sacrifices constantly. In those days, the elite and their creatures slaughtered many, continuing to follow this line back, all of whom are kings of Norway. We come to Jukulkara's son, known as Frosty, son of Kari. Fornjot's son, known as Wind, was king of Finland and Sweden, King Frosty. From there it is easy to find their adventures and genealogies. Now we see the Breakespear line has control of Sweden, Finland and Norway, surrounding defiant and rebellious Denmark. Talk about intimidation tactics. Looking further on this line, we come across yet another giant, a family trait we can see in those mentioned before. Fornjot, known as the ancient giant, much is written about him. He had 3 sons, Hler, Logi and Kari. Kari is described as the father of Frost and the father of Snow the Old. Born about 80 BC, Kari, known as Wind, became father of a son named Jukal, which means icicle, ice, or glacier. He went by the name of Frosty. Frosty is the father of Snor the Old, meaning Snow the Old. Snor the Old had a son named Thori. It was written during the time that Hler ruled over the seas, Logi over fire, and Kari over wind. Kari was Finland's first and most powerful ruler. Old Russian documents tell of a Finnish prince who hired a giant to help him conquer Russia from Estonia to Kiev. The giant's name was Kalua. After finishing this task, the prince gave the giant Kvinland as his own kingdom. Kari's brother, Hler Fornjot's son, was born about 191 and is identified as a giant by various sources. Logi Fornjot's son, called Flame, was described as the most handsome man with the strength and size of his giant ancestors. Logi was larger and stronger than any other man in the land. His name was changed from Logi to Halogi, which formed the name of the country. Halogaland, which was the Norway-Finland area. Logi, obsessed with fire, married a woman named Glod, which meant red-hot embers. As their love burned, they had 2 daughters, named Isa, meaning glowing embers, and Imira, meaning embers. They were known as the fairest women in the land. Logi is often called Loki. Now we see more history about Loki and Thor. Legends were at one time flesh and blood, coming back past William the Conqueror. Around 1100, Nicholas Breakespear was born, son of Robert Breakespear. He, like most, was sent to Rome when he was very young to be indoctrinated, to become Pope Hadrian IV, also called Pope Hadrian IV. When he was taken to Rome, his name and history were changed. We have seen this countless times. Anyone who comes from nothing and becomes someone, such as Trump, Hitler, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, etc., is a puppet, controlled by the elite. They swore the oath to memorize the Jesuit oath. It is the one they swear to live by. Since you are on the receiving end of it, you should know what they plan for you, what they swear to do to you, how they work. You should know your enemy better than you know your ex's Facebook account who you broke up with 5 years ago. Instead of wasting time on data mining distraction machines, spend the endless hours watching the enemy, not the stupid dramas. That is the purpose of them, to keep you busy looking around, while they kill you. Pope Eugenius III made Pope Hadrian Breakespear a cardinal and bishop of Albano in 1146. It is difficult to trace these elite papal bloodlines because of the fact they are mostly popes, and when one enters the papacy, all background is deleted and new identity is given. Nicholas went to Norway for some time to start the church there and was nicknamed the Apostle of the North. There was a war during his time as pope and he hid in Viterbo. Viterbo, you will remember, is a hot spot for the families. He leaves us a violent and horribly bloody, though brief, papacy, slaughtering souls for his God. Nicholas Breakespear was born at Breakespear Farm in Edbutts, Langley. He is the only person from the British Empire region to ever be pope. A watercolor painting of the farm, which had been built around 1100 and was given to Pope Leo XIII, who ordered it to be hung in the Vatican. There are interesting stories about this farmhouse, such as what had been found in hidden rooms and tunnels before it was all demolished. The chimney stack had a recess which contained a table, chair and a skull, either from a baby or a monkey. Another secret hole was found in one of the bedrooms, hidden by a small door or panel. Upon investigation, pipes had been placed across the opening and it was not looked into further. Besides what one would expect, sightings and noises, the farm had on it a well. The water in this well was said to be holy and had healing properties. The well became a site of frequent visitors on pilgrimage there to be healed. Thomas Breakespear was a papal legate, and by 1152, Norway had split off from the general Scandinavian archbishopric and formed a Norwegian church directly under the Pope. Nicholas Thomas Breakespear brought the required pallium from Rome. A pallium is a specific scarf made for the priests to wear and was required by King George I centuries before. The pallium meant that the Pope controlled the appointment of archbishops over the country's ruler. The Vatican controls the government. Another family mention is Breakespear's estate. At the time it housed William Breakespear in 1376. The estate contains an avenue of oak trees as well as Elizabeth I's coats of arms appear in the stained glass panels of the entrance hall, which was put in during her reign. In 1602 as she was a frequent visitor. In 1430 heiress of the Breakespear estate, Margaret Breakespear married George Ashby, who was the clerk of the signet, which is the seal of the king. The position is that of a scribe, very personally close to the king, first to Henry VI and later to his queen Margaret of Anjou. By 1461 Ashby's fortunes had fallen because he spent 2 years in the Fleet prison for debt. His son John served Henry VII as clerk of the signet. This bloodline is easily followed through the clerk of the signet position alone. John Ashby's son George was also clerk of the signet to Henry VII as well as Henry VIII, and even his son Thomas became clerk of the spicery for Elizabeth I. We can find Jane Breakespear came to America in 1773 and Robert Breakespear, mayor of Henley-on-Thames in 1804. And Cynthia Jane Breakespear as Miss World 1976. Present day we see Bob Breakespear from Oxford, England on June 21, 2009 commented to a fellow Truth Speaker's article on the family. He threatens saying, quote, "Tread carefully. You have no idea how much power we have." End quote. This comment was left under a very short and hardly detailed article which wrote about the Merovingian dynasty we covered in part 1 of L. This document was on the path of truth. They fear us. And Bob Breakespear proved it. The visuals of the movie The Da Vinci Code were done by Mark Breakespear. Michael Breakespear is currently doing experiments on the cortical spinal system. He experiments with the dynamical behavior of the human motor control system from the outside. Mind control. He works with Michael Aburn, TJEELD Boonstra and Saeed Merkanoon at the Systems Neuroscience Group at Queensland Institute of Medical Research and Royal Brisbane Hospital in Hurston. Francis Breakespear has put out a few books out about how to be a magician and join the cult. It is easy to find the Breakespears today and their Viking history is fascinating to look at. Do not ask questions. Find answers. We aimed here, as in our document L the Bloodlines, to give you a timeline, a genealogy, and a comprehensive history so you may take these targets and easily find more. We have made it as simple as possible to find the elite and know them. Only when we know our enemy can we defeat it. But you must seek, if you wish to know. It cannot be told to you. Blind faith never saved anyone. The truth will set you free. Look for it. They suppress things that reverse the damage done by the chemical warfare we were born into, the destruction and control you are under, perhaps without knowing it, because of medications, vaccines, chemtrails, poisoned water and food and even the brainwashing. Can all be reversed. How? By using soft lasers, hyperbaric chambers, ultraviolet blood irradiation, oxygen ozone, North Pole magnetic therapy, and natural remedies such as marijuana. Do not have access to any of that? Ask your neighbor to share some marijuana. They will do all they can to keep you from what heals you and keeps you well. They have raised their sheep for the slaughter, not for wool. Be wise as vipers. We charge you. Be watchers. Be wise. One interesting side note. The certain viper the Den tribe used as their icon was a specific horned viper, called Nahahage meaning legioness. It is an adder snake and does not lay eggs, but gives birth in late summer to around 8 live young. It is not reptilian. The next phase of the plan for these elite families is to regain the land of Canaan, the original land, which they are in the process of doing right now. Then they will move the Vatican, the throne of the Synagog of Satan, from Rome to Jerusalem and Canaan. They will rebuild a physical third temple to be the throne of the ruler of the one world. This is a perversion of the true third temple to deceive those who will not see. The Vatican already owns Jerusalem. It is merely a chess game of puppets until the public sees it. They keep everything hidden from you. Just as many think Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope, only because this is the first time Jesuits have been able to come out and publicly claim it without the public rising against them. The masses are deceived and know not what they do. The Vatican controls the bankers and owns all the banks. Through the bankers all governments are controlled. Through the societies and clubs like the Knights groups, Illuminati, Freemasonry and the rest, every secret service group, CIA, Mossad, FSB, every religion, the education system, healthcare system, media system, are all controlled. When the Knights of Malta and Knights Templar were created by the Vatican to carry out crusades, jihad, to invade and slaughter anyone who did not obey the Vatican. At the same time the Vatican created the Red Cross to then go in after the slaughter and finish off whoever was left, in the name of peace and caring. Nothing has changed. Red Cross administers vaccinations to quickly spread fatal diseases and fulfill the Vatican's need for blood, human sacrifice, human trafficking. Whether you cared or not, they are controlling every part of your life, and until you stand up for yourself, take this world back from them, allow humanity to rise again, all will be lost. It is time to turn your gaze to your enemy, the Vatican. What the elite do not understand or care about is that they are stuck in this world with the rest of us. It's time we woke them up to reality. We are not gonna take it anymore. The choice is yours. Will the people rise as they did before, and destroy the elite? Or will humanity be destroyed for good? Take action. Time is up. Expect it.